said that? Who said that?
What did he say?
I don't know. I actually want to say something, Brett. The only reason I'm not screaming, Brett. The only reason why.
Well, you know, we have to operate within the system, and then that's the way to, I think, affect change, is to be assertive, to make a point, and then say, what are we going to do about it, and be able to listen.
I know.
And,
I was in Albany. We spent about, we were there for 7 hours there.
Yeah.
That's all I know.
Well, you know, people know that you're in the system. You run it.
Yep.
You have a point of view. And,
I'm glad Jason said what he said, but you gave him a legislature packet, right? Let me get I have it on me.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on our website. If you go to
Right in my bag.
passengersunited.org/legislation.
Be careful, brother. There's people over there. There you go. It's your speed.
Read that thing about That's all out, baby.
Do you guys travel? Okay.
Yes, we do travel.
Okay.
Hi,
But do you guys travel to stand on?
Charlton, you're a respectful person. We understand that you have a right to be here, but we just want you to not disrupt our rally.
I didn't do anything.
I know you're with him.
No. No. He is not there. I'm sorry.
Watch your stuff. I'll watch your stuff from this angle.
Local 726. Do you take the S4? Answer the question. Do you take the S4? Yes or no? I take the S4. But do you listen to what they say? But do you take the S4? Yes or no? So take it from end to end. You will see that it's very like sardines, and you will see very like crackers. No, we need to do fact check. That's why I'm here. And Charlton, stop recording.
Thank you for joining us today. We're here with our allies, union members, partners, elected officials, once again calling on Governor Local to invest in public transportation. You know, as the governor announced for $215 billion spent budget, we're asking for God to protect our highway and bus riders. Riders that never stopped taking the bus and the subway and the trains throughout the pandemic and kept the city and New York economy afloat. You know, the governor is allocating millions of dollars for MTA police and train stations outside the 5 boroughs, while riders in the city continue to wait 15, 20, 25, 30 minutes for a bus and a train. We cannot afford, low-income New Yorkers cannot afford to lose any more time. We all know, we've been organizing and talking to riders. We know, everybody agrees that more service means bringing more people into the system and increasing ridership for the MTA. More service means safety for riders and transit workers. More service means more people getting out of their cars and back into the system, therefore mitigating climate change. So here we are again with our allies and our partners calling on Governor Hochul to invest $300 million for 6-minute service because frequency is equity. We want 6-minute service. What do we want? 6
Ira. So the call for 6-minute service is as much a call for a transit system that works for working New York. Our city is carried every single day and was certainly carried through its darkest days by those who never had the option to stop riding. Those who staffed our hospitals, stocked our shelves, cleaned our streets, and kept our city moving. For the greater part of the last 3 years, transit workers have been the heroes carrying heroes, making sure that our city never had to stop. But we know that responsibility, it didn't start in 2020, and it certainly won't end anytime soon. When it comes to transit in New York City, we talk a lot about riders at Riders Alliance. But we're only riders because of transit workers. Transit workers get us to the doctor, they get us to errands, they get us to school, they get us to work, they get us to rallies where we can call for more off-peak service. Everywhere we need to go, thanks to these folks and their colleagues. As we move into a critical phase of budget season, we are proud to stand arm in arm with TWU Local 100 and their more than 40,000 members who move New York in calling for an MTA operating budget that does more for riders and for workers. With that, it is my privilege to introduce someone who knows more about the bus and subway than perhaps anyone else, certainly the bus, which we love at Riders Alliance, the president of TWU Local 100, Richard Davis.
Right. Thank you very much. Gracious delivery of my presence here, but again, thank you for being honored to be here at Riders Alliance, and of course, my team behind me, TWU Local 100. So, mass transit is the future. It's the green future. It's energy efficient future, and we need the funds to be delivered to us here at New York City Transit and throughout the 5 boroughs, making mass transit the great equalizer. Transit brings economic and freedom and opportunity to all. Why should the 5 boroughs suffer from cutting service?
No service cuts!
No service cuts! It's been a long ride through COVID. COVID has taken about 110 of our members, and it's caused a deterrent in our minds to come to work, but we came to work anyway. We worked through the COVID. We fought through the COVID. That's it, Richard. And now, our expectation is not to have service cuts.
That's right. No service cuts.
The MTA is proposing service cuts in subways, and next they will attack buses. And we have a chairman who is a bumbling idiot, as best I can call him, Jan Oliva. He's attacking us. He's crushing anything that moves, and eventually will crush service in the buses and the subways. So I want to stand here today at Riders Alliance to say we are going to fight against service cuts. We will not stand for service cuts. And how can we get to a 6-minute headway if they're going to cut service?
No way.
The 2nd Avenue subway line, how can they fix the 2nd Avenue subway line with service cuts? That will never happen. So we're here standing with Riders Alliance today, telling the public that we have to stand and fight together through this entire budget at Albany, and also knowing that the MTA every year or every 3 years, they say there's no money and they have to cut service. We will not stand for that. We will fight, and we will fight for the 6-minute headway, and we will also fight against service cuts. They're proposing service cuts on the subway lines right now in the next couple of months to be implemented in June. That they want to cut the service on all the lines instead of waiting for 6 minutes, you might be waiting for 12 minutes, right? And that's on a weekday, on Monday, on Friday. So how could that work in this system that the governor and the mayor is committed to increasing service? So we want to make sure that we fight along with Riders Alliance to not cut service. No service cuts! 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 And for the Riders Alliance, 6-minute headways. 6-minute headways. No service cuts.
6-minute headways.
Somebody.
No service cuts. 6-minute headways. No service cuts. 6-minute headways. No service cuts.
Thank you, President. Thank you, TWU team for being here. I want to introduce a longtime ally of Riders Alliance and our community in New York, Public Advocate Jumani Williams.
Peace and blessings, everybody. Love and light. Hello. Peace, TWU. President, everybody's good? Yeah. And Riders Alliance, thank you so much. Listen, very often, on a daily basis, more people ride the subways than all of the American domestic airlines. And still, we treat our subway system as if this is not worthy of the money that is needed to keep it going. The people who ride on subways are called essential workers when they're needed, whether it's transportation, medical professionals, teachers, and others. And it creates an inherent inequity when we spend a lot more money on making sure cars can move than making sure that our system underground and above ground can move massive amounts of people around our city. This is something that has to happen. Our transit is probably our state's largest social service program. Yes. And yet we're not funding it adequately, even as we're asking more people to ride the subway. And I am thankful that more people are coming back to the subway. But I have to be clear, it wasn't just the pandemic that was causing people to leave. It was problems with service cuts, problems with not having a reliable service that happened even before the pandemic, when people were pleading to adequately fund our system. And also I would tell you, has to do with public safety. People get aggravated and they take it out on the union members because they have no one else to take it out on. So if you want to address public safety, one of the things that you can do is have our trains running on time. 6 minutes is a way to do that. Not cutting service is a way to do that. A budget shows you where your priority is. Right now, you're telling the MTA that they have to again find $300 million. They shouldn't be trying to fill holes and taking it out on the people who need the service the most. When the governor was elected, she said she would pay attention to what's needed in our region. Properly funding our transportation system is essential in our region.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure I get these numbers right, so I'm going to open it up. Because there are some places where there is funding happening, and she is saying that this is more of a priority than making sure we have the services we need. $150 million for more MTA police, $700 million for film tax credits, and $400 million in loan to Belmont Park Racetrack, and I think $300 million to get a better ride to Long Island. That's where your priority is. Just take $50, $100 million from each one of those projects, you'll have the $300 million you need to get our subway moving faster. That's all you have to do. I just read off 4 projects that you are saying are more priority than this. Please, just skim some off the top, pretend it's the Buffalo Bills that you want to fund, and find the money to fund the MTA. This is essential. It is a priority. We have to get it done, particularly if you're telling people to get on the subway. Well, give them something to get on the subway for. 6-minute service, better service, no cuts. What we need right now is this to be funded properly, and it never has been. And it's inequitable how we're doing it. Let's provide some equity to our transportation. Thank you so much.
You got it?
Thank you. Thank you. Well, try to follow that. Next, I want to introduce somebody that is the owner of the Formula 3 package in the state legislation to freeze fares, free buses, and more frequency. I want to introduce Assembly Member Zoran Mandel.
It's TWU in the house!
Yeah!
create a transit system that this city, this excellent city, can finally match up to. We have a transit system today that the governor describes as world class. You ask any New Yorker across the 5 boroughs, they will tell you they are waiting more than 10 minutes for a train. They are on a bus that is going 5 miles an hour. They are at risk of being priced out of one of their most basic human rights, the right to go around their city. We are here together with TWU, together with Riders Alliance, together with the public advocate and my colleagues to state that we are going to transform the MTA into the transit system that we deserve. And we are going to do that by making sure we leave the days of service cuts or service adjustments behind. We don't care how you describe them, they have the same result. It makes transit less frequent. It takes apart our system. What we are going to get this year in the budget is to ensure that we do not have a fare hike. We do not take the hike to $3. That's right. Is to ensure that we have frequent service. 6-minute service for our trains. 20% increase across our bus system. And to make buses free across New York City.
All right.
We are fighting for these things because we know that they are possible. It is just a question of political will. If you are sitting at home and you are wondering, how could we actually do this? Know that New York State has a $227 billion budget as proposed by the governor. It would only cost 1.5% to fund every single thing that I have just said. We can get that money by taxing the wealthiest New Yorkers. Let's be clear. If you tax corporations that are making more than $2.5 billion in profits, you will raise more than $10 billion. That is money you can use to make this system the system that we deserve. Because we know right now what's happening is New Yorkers are being nickeled and dimed by Albany. We are being given a system that is crumbling. TWU workers have risked their lives. More than 100 lost their lives by keeping this system alive, by keeping this city alive. And what the MTA has proposed is let's look at a 2% increase in the contract renegotiation. And what we are saying in Albany is if you look at the relationship between inflation and between TWU contract renegotiations, the bare minimum that the MTA should be planning for is 3.5%. That's the bare minimum. So what we are proposing in the halls of the Assembly, in the halls of the Senate, is this package known as Fix the MTA, which takes the advocacy that the Riders Alliance have been leading on, it takes the experience and the work that TWU has been delivering on, and it brings together a political vision that finally recognizes those things, acknowledges those things, and funds those things. Who is ready for 6-minute service? Who is ready for an end to service cuts and service adjustments? Who is ready to fix the MTA? We know that at the end of the day, the buck stops with the governor, Kathy Hochul. That is what we know. And in her budget, she has no money for service frequency, she has no money to avert a fare hike, and she has no money to make any buses free. And so what we're fighting for right now is in the Assembly and the Senate, when we deliver our own budgets in the middle of March, that we reflect the values that New Yorkers hold and the things that they deserve. Thank you very much.
You got Alan in front of you.
Got it? All right, thank you.
Hi. And so the fight, it's in the state, the state senate, the state assembly, but we're also fighting at the city level, and we are so proud to fight in the city with Council Member Amanda Cordias, who introduced Resolution 460. Please welcome Amanda.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I don't know what time it is anymore. I am super proud to be here today, really to show the unity we have in our local government. I introduced Resolution 460 that now has a majority of the city council backing up what we are demanding and what this city deserves, 6-minute service. In outer borough communities like mine, we heavily rely on our public transit system to get us everywhere, to work, to school, to see our family, to get to groceries. I mean, even to watch a Yankee game, right? How else are you getting to Yankee Stadium? But when the train doesn't come for 10 or 20 minutes, that adds stress to your commute, adds time to where you're going and where you need to be. The delays are too damn high. Shorter waits and faster trips for riders who often suffer from long commutes to in-person service shops would give workers more time back and promote increased ridership. Less time on the train means more time back you can take for yourself and to your family. 6-minute service means our seniors, dedicated workers, students, and families are not stranded without options. The MTA cannot continue to be the reason why New Yorkers miss their appointments, working class people lose a sick day or a vacation day or even the risk of their job, and students miss critical class time. The essence of what we are calling on Governor Hochul to do today is about finally fixing the daily issues we have been bogged down as New Yorkers for decades. I'm really proud to be standing here today with all of you for to support this effort and to have introduced Resolution 460. Really, for me, and I think for all of us, this is about community justice, it's about healthcare justice, it's about worker justice, economic justice, and transit justice at the end of the day. We need this for our communities, and we call on the governor to fully fund the MTA. Thank you.
Thank you. From council member in the Bronx to a council member from Brooklyn. Please welcome council member Jason
All right, who runs New York? We do. Who runs New York? We do. Who runs New York? TWU. I am proud to stand with transit workers, Local 100, and with the Riders Alliance, which I've been organizing with for more years than I can count. We know that the MTA needs more resources. We know we need to invest in the MTA. More city resources, more state resources. But we also need better service. Hell no to service cuts. New Yorkers depend on the MTA. Our trains and our buses are the lifeline that connect our communities, that give New Yorkers a chance to work, to live, to breathe. The MTA, our subway system, is what makes New York City great. So not only are we gonna fight against any potential service cuts, not only are we gonna fight against any potential fare increases, we are gonna demand the real improvements that we need. 6-minute service is what New Yorkers deserve. 6 New Yorkers is what New Yorkers should expect. 6-minute service is what New Yorkers depend on to be able to get where they need to go. And so I am proud to join my colleague, Councilmember Farias, in her leadership for the resolution for 6-minute service in the City Council. We are gonna get this passed. With the help of TWU, with the help of the Riders Alliance, we are going to make 6-minute service a reality by putting the resources where they deserve. The governor, the legislature, we need to fully fund the MTA. Let's make it happen.
Councilmember. I want to introduce now Theodore Moore, the Vice President of Policy of the New York Immigration Board. He's representing everybody.
I got the sign, I got my Riders Alliance sweatshirt, my NYC button. I love every organization. Yeah. Can I get give me a hoodie, give me a sweatshirt. Obviously, the New York Immigration Coalition supports TWU Local 100. A lot of obviously immigrants are our members, work for transit. A lot of times we hear these stories about having to wait for the subway, and it's like an abstract, like it doesn't actually happen. So this morning, I live in Bed-Stuy, running to the train, missed the A train. Look up at the sign, the next train, this is 8:30 in the morning, was literally coming 12 minutes later during rush hour for the A train. On the way here, our office is in Midtown, right down the street from Madison Square Garden. I looked up how long it was gonna take me. It said from Midtown, 33rd Street to here, 42nd Street, On the train, it was going to take 23 minutes. And that wasn't because it takes long once you get on the train. That was waiting for the train. I looked up how long it was going to take to walk. 19 minutes. We should never be in a situation where you can walk somewhere faster than taking the train. And this is a situation that everyone is dealing with all across New York City. Now, during the pandemic, New Yorkers, everyday New Yorkers, low-income New Yorkers, black and brown New Yorkers, immigrant New Yorkers continue to go to work, and they continue to take the train because they had no other options. Some folks were lucky enough to be able to work remote. Now they're saying all of those folks, they need to start coming back to work. And people want to go back to work, but we need a reliable way to get to work. If you can't get to work on time, what option do you have? I don't have cab money. I don't have the opportunity. I don't have like Uber, like discretionary money. Like my money goes into rent, food, and other things that are going up in price. I need to be able to take the train, and I need the train to get me where I need to go every day on time, just like every other New Yorker. We need 6-minute service. Without it, we can't remain in New York City. It is essential, just like immigrant New Yorkers. Thank you.
Thank you, Theo. I want to introduce Jessica Murray. From Rise of Resistance Elevator Action Group.
My name is Jessica Murray. I'm a part of the Rise of Resistance Elevator Action Group. I'm also the chair of the advisory committee on transit accessibility to the MTA. So I'm here representing the 13 groups representing disabled people in the city. We need 6-minute service because the access areas for people with disabilities are small. They're limited. If a bus is full, a passenger in a wheelchair is going to get passed by. They're going to have to wait for the next bus. If the 2 wheelchair spaces are occupied, they're going to have to wait for the next bus. If they get off the subway and the elevator's already full, they got to wait for that elevator to go up and come back down, and more people to get on and get off before they can get out of the station. So the more frequent the service, the greater the accessibility that they will have. We need more service, no service cuts. That would be disastrous for this community, who already has limited mobility and already has a hell of a time getting around the city. We need 6-minute service, no service cuts. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. And our last speaker, Hillary Adam from Earth Justice.
Hello, I'm Hillary Adun. I'm an attorney at Earth Justice. Thank you to the elected officials, union members, advocates, and others who have carried this campaign. New York just finalized its climate scoping plan, which is a roadmap for meeting the requirements of the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act. This landmark climate bill mandates steep cuts in the state's greenhouse gas emissions, 40% by 2030 and 85% by 2050, and an equitable transition to a clean energy economy. It's critical that we slash emissions from transportation, and ensuring more frequent and reliable public transit is essential to reducing reliance on public vehicles and taking cars off the road. The climate scoping plan is clear that we need to improve and expand public transportation across the state. It calls for significant increases in the availability of public transportation services by 2030 and large-scale investment in expanded public transportation in advance of the mid-century emissions limits. The scoping plan did not provide details, but fortunately the advocates here have a concrete ask. We stand with the Riders Alliance and ask for $300 million in funding for the MTA's operating budget to achieve 6-minute service across the bus and subway system. More frequent service is needed to ensure that New Yorkers continue to rely on public transportation. This is a tiny fraction of the budget, but it would achieve massive economic, environmental, public health, and quality of life benefits. We hope that Governor Hochul and the legislature will make this vision a reality for our communities and for our climate. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. I want to give a shout out to our transportation alternatives here. Thank you. Take questions from the press.
Yeah, what cuts are you referring to when you say service cuts? What cuts are you referring to?
So the service cuts they're referring to, they want to cut the service on Monday and Fridays, and they want to let the service remain the same on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So Monday and Friday, they're saying that no one's coming to work. It's very not true. As you heard the gentleman say, people are forced to return to work now. There's no more Zoom, so people be standing along on the platforms on Monday and Friday.
This would be what, rush hour or midday?
All day, every day.
Every line?
All day long. Cut down the service Monday and Friday.
Buses also?
Well, they're starting with the subways, and they're eventually going to get to the buses.
And that's part of the budget?
No, they're going to do that right now in the next 2 months. They want to start this next week. We actually have an arbitration in the morning to fight the service cuts in our own TWU, but we're engaging the public as well because for our members, when they do that service cut, we're going to have a lot more assaults. For sure, we're going to have assaults because people get frustrated when they see us with an MTA logo in our body. We're automatically the front line and we'll get hurt.
General was on the radio today on WNYC. He was suggesting that the proper thing to do right now is to kind of focus more on the MTA's deficit, deal with that giant yawning $1 billion thing that's happening, as opposed to kind of taking big swings, your 6-minute service, your free buses, everything else. Does anybody want to address the question of what is appropriate to do right now or how to deal with these things?
I would say that too often New Yorkers see Albany as only putting a Band-Aid on the MTA, and that is what Albany has done. Now is not the time for us to fill the operating budget deficit and consider that to simply be job done. Yes, it's a priority. The governor has a proposal that resolves that issue. We are encouraged by that, but we have to go beyond that, because simply filling the budget deficit will still result in 10-minute, 15-minute waits. It'll still result in a $3 fare. It'll still result in buses going 5 miles an hour. This is the time for us to address the root problems of the MTA's crisis. Because one of the key reasons why we are in a fiscal deficit is because pandemic ridership is at 65% of what it was pre-2019. If we do not increase service, if we do not, at the very least, keep service costing the same, if not incentivizing more people to come on the bus by making it free, then we will be back here in another few years because our ridership has still struggled to come back to 100%. So now I firmly disagree with Jenna Lieber on the fact that we need to do more than resolve the fiscal deficit. We have to do that, and we have to deliver a transit system that New Yorkers have been crying out for decades.
In that vein, a lot of people have criticized the deficit plugging plan itself. The Mayor Adams has said he doesn't think it's fair for the city to have to pay $500 million more annually. Suburban legislators just sent a letter to Senator Stuart Cousins a few days ago saying they don't want to pay the payroll mobility tax. So, is this? Do you feel like this is pie in the sky stuff, or do you want to would there be any openness to compromise on that? Or
this is not pie in the sky stuff. The amount of people that you're talking about pales in comparison to the fact that we had 32 legislators in the Assembly call for the enactment of the Formula 3 bill. The Formula 3 bill, which what we've been talking about today, incorporates 6-minute service, incorporates a fare freeze, it incorporates making buses free. That's 32 legislators, not just from New York City. And if we talk about the Senate, that's another 10 senators, right? There are rightful critiques that can be made around the payroll mobility tax. What I would encourage, and many other of my colleagues in Albany, is that we have other means by which to tax the wealthiest New Yorkers. New Jersey has a corporate tax of 11.5%. New York State has a corporate tax of 7.25%. We could increase our corporate tax by 4 percentage points, still have one that is lower than New Jersey, and raise billions of dollars that would far surpass what the governor has said she would be able to get from the PMT. So no, this is not pie in the sky. Riders Alliance has been demanding this because it is a reasonable demand.
Have you spoken about those other tax proposals with the governor? Is there any indication of support or not, or lack thereof?
Right now, what we've been focusing on is within the Assembly and within the Senate, and there is a lot of excitement and enthusiasm around taxing the New Yorkers who can afford to pay for the essential goods that power New York City, not the ones who rely on it the most and are at most need of economic relief.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, I get my. Yeah, that happened to me too.